Oh yeah, that's a fine looking... Oh! Okay, no big deal. Stupid
SJWs.
You gotta build fast.
Have to stop the woke agenda.
Yeah, that's one fine looking...
YouTube film review channel.
Why doesn't mine look like that? Why? Why must life be so hard? Why must I fail in every attempt?
Creative writing.
How's your father's project coming along?
I think he's almost done. Yeah, he's done.
Well, it's been a while. Well, more than a little while since the last time we talked about the critical drinker. Now, to put it into perspective, while I was interested in making another video on the drunkard, as I like to call him, it wasn't my main priority as I was more interested on making my own projects, which I did. And you know, I didn't want to waste my time on this pathetic conman because spending time into the toxicity sphere that the critical drinker and his cohorts spew, you know, isn't really something that I wanted to do again. Trust me, if for every fuck up or stupid thing that comes out of the drinker's mouth, I could make videos till the end of times, or make fun of his awful Tom Clancy ripoffs.
Shut the fuck up, no one cares about your
Tom Clancy
fan fiction. Know your fucking place, trash.
But I don't want my channel to just become that. Mainly because I would have to rely on him to make videos which would be awful, but also I don't want to just appeal to the lowest common denominator.
It's not our job to appeal to the lowest common denominator, Doug. It's our job to raise it.
But I did want to make at least one more video to both respond to certain comments I got on the previous video and because, well, honestly, that video is the most watched video in my channel, by a big margin no less. So, in order to more fully expose the drinker for the fraud and conman that he is, but also to lay this to rest once and for all, I may make another video about the drinker someday, but for now, this is the conclusion. So I wanted to make this video, but I didn't know when I wanted to make it, but then I remembered that the second season of Loki ended recently, and seeing how Loki was the catalyst for the first video, and that got me to expose his casually racist views, we'll get to that, well, it seems that there is no better time than now to make this video. In fact, I found out that he stayed the f*** away from Loki season 2, so at least you can enjoy that season in peace, and I recommend it, it was pretty good. And also, I have a little story to tell you at the end of this video, and trust me, that is not a clickbait attempt to keep you watching, it's a good story and I'm sure you will enjoy it. Oh, and hi to all those critical drinker sims that come to this video just to hate on it. If you have made it to this point of the video, congrats! I hope you learned something by watching me, and if you genuinely like his videos, well, you should probably get your head checked. In my previous video, I think I did a pretty good job of showing the biggest flaws of the critical drinker as a reviewer. In fact, I did them so well that in one instance in particular, he edited it out in order to save a little bit of face. We'll get to that in a bit, but I also said that I'll personally make sure he regrets having said Ryan Johnson's name in vain. And wouldn't you look at that, he continues to do it. And that's also one of the reasons why I took my time with this video, because it didn't matter if I made this video in 2030, because I knew that the critical drinker wasn't going to change his content or how he reacts to media. Especially when his whole persona kind of revolves around the idea that everything new sucks, man. Oh, except if it is based on QAnon conspiracy theories. Then it's okay. So, for the uninitiated, let's recap the critical drinker's grift. Okay, so you may be wondering, how do you make clickbaity garbage that will generate you an audience by reviewing films? Well, that's quite simple. Step 1. Find yourself something to complain about. Now, most of the time, you're gonna need something from a well-known franchise, superheroes, sci-fi, whatever. If it has an older fanbase that you can exploit with your reactionary bullshit, even better. Step 2. Clickbait. So now you found your thing to complain about. Now, you need to make a clickbaity title complaining about the trailer. Hell, sometimes you don't even need the trailer. If you want your audience to be outraged about something, just put out that a certain character that you want them to hate is returning. Simple. Now this is very important. You have to put the words woke and or ruined in your title. It doesn't matter if you're completely misunderstanding the point of the original film, just put them in and watch your audience start bitching about something all over social media. Now, if the project actually does suck, that's it, you win, you get the views, and you prove that wokeness ruins everything. But what if it doesn't? What if not just those paid shill critics like it, but the audience does too? Uh-oh, you fucked up. Now it appears like you wanted these movies to fail. And remember, you have to appear impartial. So don't worry, you have options. Step 4. Review bomb. You tell your brain-dead audience that it's not that good, so they'll go and review bomb it. Don't worry, you can change the title of the video later, no one will know a thing. And when the film does arrive, because keep in mind, you're doing this way before the film even comes out, then you just give it some backhanded praise, like it wasn't that bad or it was better than I expected, and make it look like it still has some problems. That way you save face a little and you get your gullible audience to believe you. And there you go, a guide on how to get almost 2 million subscribers by lying and conning people into thinking that there's an evil agenda or an evil producer out there wanting to ruin your beloved characters. Though, a bit of a disclaimer, sometimes this can blow up in your face and you look like a complete idiot. Like, you can say that a certain movie will probably flop, and then it goes on to become one of the highest grossing movies ever made. Or, even worse, when you're giving that backhanded praise to one of those projects I mentioned earlier, you make one of the absolute worst excuses as to why a character shouldn't be flawed that might even cause you a little bit of problems.
I mean, it's not all perfect on the character front. I mentioned before that the cast is probably bigger than it needs to be, and Jessica Drew is a prime example of this. She doesn't really add anything to the story and just eats up screen time in an already bloated movie. Also, having a heavily pregnant woman trying to ride a motorbike and do action sequences is never gonna not look fucking ridiculous. Also, I can't shake the feeling that the script is doing everything in its power to play down Peter Parker, like it's afraid the audience will somehow start rooting for him over Miles if he's shown to be too capable and confident. The first movie portrayed him as an aging, burned out loser who only redeems himself at the end, while the second film morphs him into a bumbling, hapless father in a pink bathrobe who for some reason keeps taking his baby along on life-threatening adventures despite having a perfectly capable mother at home to look after it. Is this some weird attempt to mock and belittle the Spider-Man that most people know and love, who incidentally just happens to be the only straight white man in the entire movie? I don't know, man, it just kinda leaves a sour taste in my mouth, that's all.
Oh, it leaves a sour taste in your mouth? Well, your mother leaves a sour taste in mine. Especially if Spidey fans aren't stupid and don't fall for your bullshit that easily. It seems that in the mind of the critical drinker, if you are a male protagonist with no flaws, then it's fine. But if it's a female protagonist with no flaws, then she's a woke Mary Sue. Quite a double standard, don't you think? But of course, this varies from video to video. Like, you can't say it in something that has a very big fan base that might actually make you lose subscribers, like Arcane or The Last of Us. When that happens, what woke agenda? What message? You know, it's sad because I hate how much it dumbs down film criticism. Like, you can criticize a project and give it a valid criticism, but these assholes don't want that because it's obviously much more profitable for them to create fake outrage for views.
Useless fucking pieces of shit!
I think that acclaimed fantasy author George R.R. Martin put it best when he said, "Toxicity is growing. It used to be fun talking about our favorite books and films and having spirited debates with fans who saw things differently. But it is no longer enough to say, I did not like this book or this film, and here's why. People would rather talk about the stuff they hate than the stuff they love, and delight in dancing on the graves of anyone whose film has flopped." Yeah, thanks George, couldn't have said better myself. Now finish the damn book before I piss myself. But what really angers me is how he's not even consistent with it. He's clearly very biased towards one film and then bashes another one for the same exact thing. For example, there's this film that I really like that came out in 2017 and was made by a talented director, and that's part of a long-running franchise, which primarily centers on a well-known character from said franchise who is going through a bad time in his life, has lost faith on what he once believed, and has to take care of a girl who needs a father figure and has a lot of untapped potential. even without proper training, but with the help of his old master, he finally learns to face his mistakes, sacrifice himself in the coolest way possible, and be a beacon of hope to those that survive. That's right, the film I'm talking about is Logan. What? What film did you think I was talking about? And guess which movie he recommended. Oh well, I guess it's because it wasn't produced by Kathleen Kennedy. Speaking of which... Everybody's in a rush to trying to get the throne. I just get on the vid and try to set the tone. I ain't trying to use nobody as a stepping stone, so don't compare me, I'm better off just left alone. And I don't even lead comments no more, I don't got to. Got automated bots that'll legally block you. I don't see a lot of people cross the line, but this motherfucker Will must have lost his mind. That Jack got him thinking he was RLM, then he switched to Ben, now he's trying to be him next. So which one are you? Ben, Clancy, Mike, or Blinket? Just keep making the same videos recycled. We'd all much rather watch along than stand you. Okay, so him and most of these other assholes tend to really have a problem with Kathleen Kennedy. Don't ask me, I really don't get why. I mean, if you really don't like the movie, you go against the director or the writer, right? Why go specifically against the producer? Especially if you're gonna get tight-lipped when she has produced some of the best films of all time. And why horrible people? I think there's a lot of other studio executives that are much, much worse. And frankly, Critical Drinker, Will, Billy Boy, all due respect, you got no
fucking idea what it's like to be number one. Every decision you make affects every facet of every other fucking thing. It's too much to deal with almost. And in the end, you're completely alone with it all.
While making this video, I found out that he made a video on the South Park Panderverse episode, which is mostly about poking fun at multiverses, the current state of America's job market opportunity, and of course, people complaining about Kathleen Kennedy. Now, I would like to talk about this episode in greater detail, hopefully before 2027 by the time I get around to make that video on time. But overall, it was a fun parody about the bizarre lengths that people tend to go about how Kathleen Kennedy actually is. So, you could imagine my shock when I heard Drunkard say this.
The only reason she does it in the first place is because of Cartman's constant whining and nitpicking about everything that she produces. Clearly the writers are taking aim at toxic fans who find reasons to complain about absolutely everything, and the evil Kathleen Kennedy from another dimension is a pretty smart parody of the monstrous, franchise-devouring being that a lot of people have created in their minds that probably has little or no connection to the mundane reality of the real Kathleen Kennedy. And to be honest, I'm perfectly fine with that. Believe it or not, it's possible to acknowledge that there's a lot of assholes out there who are basically impossible to please, but also that lazy appeals to social justice and identity politics isn't going to silence them. If anything, it's just going to give them more ammunition to criticize you with. Like I say, it's a classic example of South Park's ability to present both sides of an argument fairly, make fun of the most extreme and ridiculous elements, and suggest that maybe, just maybe, there's a sensible middle ground to be found. Screaming woke at everything with even a hint of diversity or progressive ideas is just as dumb and unproductive as trying to race and gender swap every single character in sight. What's interesting though is the reaction to what was actually a pretty fair and balanced episode, with both sides of the culture war instantly claiming it as their own. People on the right are like, yeah, we totally owned those woke libtards with this one, while people on the left seem to think, this whole thing was basically making fun of those right-wing chuds and they were just too stupid to see it.
Wait, what? Did he just say something rational? How long was I away? What planet is this? Did he see the error of his ways? I don't think so, because the Barbie video wasn't that long ago. So what happened? Has he gone soft? Is he afraid of offending someone now? You see, back in my day, the Critical Drinker used to blame everything on women and woke culture, not this pussyfooting, face-eating horse crap. Okay, I'll tell you why he does this. it's the same reason why he's purposefully not telling you the whole story of the South Park episode. It's to obfuscate about what the episode is really trying to say. He obviously has to distort the truth because actually telling you what the South Park episode is actually about would make him look like an idiot. That's why he doesn't show you this part of the episode.
Cal, I'm back. I was so wrong about Kathleen Kennedy, Cal. She's so awesome.
Or this other part of the episode.
Our universe has been manipulated with. Have you all noticed anything strange?
Yes. Yes, the world is completely upside down. Nothing makes sense.
It's because there's some kind of disruption in the Pandaverse. We believe Kathleen Kennedy has opened a portal.
This is all Kathleen Kennedy's fault? This is all Kathleen Kennedy's fault! Who's Kathleen Kennedy? She's one of the top executives at Disney. It's not us, you guys! I knew there was an explanation! We didn't waste our time at college! We didn't get lazy from technology! Everything is Kathleen Kennedy's fault! Yeah!
I don't think that the South Park writers could have made a better analogy for you people than when Randy and the rest of the guys are wondering why they are such losers and then realize they can blame it all on Kathleen Kennedy. Too bad it went over your heads. So if you're not paying attention, or are an idiot, or both, I can see how someone might be falling for this crap. So he can say things like,
believe it or not, it's possible to acknowledge that there's a lot of assholes out there who are basically impossible to please. Screaming woke at everything with even a hint of diversity or progressive ideas is just as dumb and unproductive as trying to race and gender swap every single character in sight.
but dude, have you seen the videos you're making? I can't fucking believe this guy. He tries to both act like wokeness is destroying modern movies, but when South Park says that complaining about wokeness is lazy, now it's lazy. What a hypocrite.
Screaming woke at everything with even a hint of diversity or progressive ideas is just as dumb and unproductive. 114 minutes of spiteful, bitter, mean-spirited, borderline unhinged hatred of men and everything even vaguely associated with them. Screaming woke at everything with even a hint of diversity or progressive ideas is just as dumb and unproductive.
114 minutes of spiteful, bitter, mean-spirited, borderline unhinged hatred of men and everything even vaguely associated with them.
Screaming woke at everything with even a hint of diversity or progressive ideas is just as dumb and unproductive.
114 minutes of spiteful, bitter, mean-spirited, borderline unhinged hatred of men and everything even vaguely associated with them.
No one can be this dumb!
And the fact that he had the balls to call this video "We're winning" just says everything. You know what they say, some people are so far behind in the race that they actually think they are winning. I mean, what is this guy going to do next? Delete a section of the video because I called him out on it? Wait a minute, he already did that. Yeah, in case you didn't know, it seems he did watch my previous video, because he deleted the most overtly racist comment he made on that particular video. So if you're watching this, critical drinker, because I know you are, this one's for free, but next time I'm sending you a bill for being your indirect PR team. Of course, he cleverly, instead of leaving that massive gap, he changed it with stuff about him bitching about the show being boring or whatever the fuck. Frankly, that could have been in the original video because I don't remember almost anything about it. But still, hey, good effort, at least you are now trying to hide your blatant racism and misogyny.
Clever girl.
And because he deleted it from the video, I'm gonna play it here, one more time, just so that we don't forget it.
And they know why you're doing it. The writing, direction, and pacing is some of the worst I've seen in any MCU product ever. The first 3 episodes are basically an endless stream of dull conversations over a table, or dull conversations over lunch, or dull conversations over a drink. Everyone is always talking, but none of them are saying anything worth listening to. Still clinging to the idea that the MCU isn't taking a one-way trip down woke avenue, I suggest you check your privilege before going into Loki. Every single position of command and authority is occupied by either a woman or a person of colour, or both. And of course, they're always smarter, faster, and better than men at everything, including unarmed combat, which is pretty fucking funny if you've ever seen a legit fight between the two genders.
The worst part is that this isn't even really the first time he has done something like this. His whole channel basically predicates on sleights of hand like this, where he wants to be the Plinkett-esque character that's loudmouthed and politically incorrect while reviewing bad movies, but he also wants to tell you what to think politically. Like, you have to take him completely honestly, not as a character, but as a person. Like when he spends his time defending homophobe, conspiracy nut, and actress whose movies make $800 at the box office, Gina Carano. That's while he also recently appeared in a video with Barbie burning aficionado Ben Shapiro. I guess birds of a feather flock together. So he has to play it both ways. Same with how he has to guess what aspect of the movies people will call woke and which one not, so he can get as many gullible people as possible. Poor fella. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing, or should I say, a sheep in wolf's clothing. Oh no, wait, I got it. He's a bitch in sheep's clothing. Like, I wouldn't mind if he was like a clever parody of a drunk misogynistic critic. There are many cases of characters like that that are very funny.
Oh, so you're the good guy now. What, you want to control all these demons like The Godfather?
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I hated that movie. Too long and boring and not enough boobies. I'm more of a Death Wish kind of guy. All right, look, if I get this done quick enough, we might have time to stop for churros. And look, that's not a racist thing, Pablo. That's just a great dessert.
Okay. You know I'm not Mexican, right?
That's the spirit.
But no, for once he would have to be a decent writer, and we know he isn't. And if you think that I can't criticize the critical drinker as a writer because I haven't read his books, well, I'm not questioning the drinker's writing ability, I'm denying its existence. Yeah, I can quote Game of Thrones too, you son of a bitch, but mainly it fails because he plays it almost completely straight, because that's his brand, that's how he got popular. So obviously he's gonna try to tell you what to think, not just with movies, but politically. The sad part, however, is that a big chunk of the audience simply doesn't care. Now I'm going to be briefly talking about the comments that I got in the last video. So let's call this section Loser Reads Hater Comments. Yeah, I'm sure no one has ever come up with that name before.
It's time to stop!
Here's one of the comments I got.
Anyway, the drinker may have flaws, he may be racist or feminized, but I don't care. I think he's funny.
So I think that kind of sums up what the fanbase thinks of him. He may be racist and misogynist, but I don't care. Who cares if he complains about how Western movies are terrible and Japanese films are better, but can't name one Japanese film to save his life?
Western audiences, because the things that you think are pandering to them are probably going to turn them off. There's a reason people like in the West are starting to draw more and more towards Korean or Japanese filmmaking. It's precisely because it's a bit different from what we get. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, what is the most recent Japanese film or at least entertainment that you enjoyed so far?
What am I thinking of? See, a lot of them would be older ones, like Old Boy, for example. I really enjoyed that one. I know it's not Japanese, but yeah, probably stuff like that. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I really like that, and it's like Chinese, I think. But yeah, like it's these films that have been kind of peppered throughout the past 10, 20 years that are now, I think, just starting to make more of an impact. I'm just trying to think of other stuff. Like, for example,
Battle Royale.
Yes, Battle Royale.
Also, because I insulted his writing ability, one of the comments wrote,
"You wish you had 1% of the drinker's talent."
To which I simply replied,
1% of 0 is still 0.
Boom. Roasted.
Also, why would you defend him when all he makes are awful Tom Clancy ripoffs? So that might be a good place to leave it, but I kid you not. I found out while making this video that he's making his own movie? Of course, my reaction to that news was something like this.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It seems that it just wasn't enough for him to make awful Tom Clancy copycats in books, now he wants to make them in movies. And after seeing the trailer, all I can say is, wow, I didn't know that AI had gotten so advanced you could make an entire movie out of it, because that's how this feels, a prompt that you give to an AI. It doesn't feel like something made by an actual human being. And he couldn't even bother to give it a decent thumbnail, just a cheap grainy filter. It looks like a season's greetings. Is this going to be the Christmas card to the retirees you conned into funding this embarrassment you call a film? But boy, when this comes out, I'll promise you one thing, I'm gonna tear it a new asshole to see how you like it, and you're gonna wish you had a producer as good as Kathleen Kennedy to back you up by the time I'm done with you. Okay, now time for that story I promised you, and trust me, it's a juicy one. So some time ago when I was watching the channel of speedrunner extraordinaire Dark Viper AU, and while he rose to prominence for playing GTA 5 and that's what most of his content is about, he also devotes a considerable amount of his time to argue against reaction content, as he believes it's a very lazy type of content in which the reactor pretty much profiteers of the hard work of the reactee. It's really good stuff, I really recommend it. However, this is a very controversial issue and has caused him more than a couple of enemies from people that simply don't understand the damage that reaction content does to the YouTube ecosystem. So to make a long story short, it seems that this controversy caught the eye of a certain character of ill repute, who was apparently very interested in having him appear in his podcast. Now, when I heard this, and especially knowing of Mr. Viper's advocacy for better content in the platform, I was a bit stunned to say the least. So that's when I knew it was time to go undercover. So naturally, I thought it would only be fair he knows what kind of people he was dealing with. I mean, I myself wouldn't be caught dead in that stupid fucking podcast, and according to him, the main guy was very friendly to him. Because that's how these fucks get you. They come at you with smiles, and if you don't know any better, you might just fall for it.
Jesus, Rags, can you not be a smug insult machine for 5 seconds? Contribute something of substance, please.
Wow.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Kill yourself, I guess.
So, just as a heads up so that he doesn't walk in blind to the podcast, I mean, it would be terrible if someone walked into a podcast without knowing the true colors of the people that invited you. Oh, and by the way, Critical Drinker, if you're still watching, Dark Viper AU doesn't like you either. So, to not show the full conversation, I'm just going to show you one tweet which was pretty much the basis of my whole case as to why he shouldn't go to that podcast. And here it is.
You think this is funny?
In a cosmic sort of way, yes.
Well, Mr. Funny Man, is this how you get your sick kicks?
What? It's just an ordinary crabby...
Gee, do you know what is wrong with this tweet? Could it be the part about the Nazi symbols? Or the part about denying the Holocaust? I just can't choose which one is worse. So that was pretty much enough for him to reconsider. I'm sure it would be for most people. He also had other reasons, we all do. He even released a video explaining the whole thing from his perspective. I recommend you give it a watch. I'm just gonna leave you the best moments here.
Meant to go on, I end up saying, look, I can't do it, you know, I've changed my mind. And a big reason for that is when I finally spoke publicly and said, look, guys, I'm gonna be on this podcast. Is there any reason I shouldn't be? I received quite a few DMs from people expressing concern about some of the guests that the podcast had on before, some of the things that the hosts or frequent guests have said in the past, not just on the podcast, but also on other social medias, clearly representing them as not really being aligned with my own politics. And when it comes to judging them for things that they've said, in many cases, sure, there could be context in which what any of these people said wasn't particularly that bad, and it's just been thrown around by people who don't like them. But there were other stuff where I was like, yeah, there's no context that can really make this good. And so it's clear that for a wide portion of the internet, this podcast has a negative reputation.
And seeing Mulder's fanboys cry all over his comment section is priceless. So yeah, Mulder, it was me. It was me all along. So whenever you are wondering about why an actually decent content creator doesn't want to appear on your fucking podcast, you think of me. Because with these IFAP people, they're so proud of themselves, so fat and satisfied, they can't imagine that someone like me would ever mess up their collaborations. And so, the unknown future rolls towards us. I face it for the first time with a sense of hope. Because if Cartman, a literal racist cartoon, can learn to value Kathleen Kennedy, then maybe the critical drinker can too. Nah, we all know he's a spineless asshole, so let's make fun of him in song version.
Gunter Gleben Glausen Globen.
Aha, aha. Aha, aha. Aha, aha. And all the wokies say I'm pretty racist for a drinker. You know it's kinda hard just to get along today. His videos aren't cool, but he fakes it anyway. He may not have a clue and he may not have style, but everything he likes, well, he makes up in denial. So don't debate a critic's trade. You know he really doesn't get it anyway. Gonna fake the flaws and keep it false. For you no way, for you no way. So if you don't care, just be outraged. At least you know you can always get laid without pain. The world hates whiny babies. Hey, hey, hate on that new thing. Aha, aha. Aha, aha. Aha, aha. And all the wokies say I'm pretty racist for a drinker. Claims that Japanese films are best, but he didn't know any, so he just said all the boy. Now posting in his channel, he sees film bobs as he pass, but if he looks twice, they're gonna kick his lily ass. So don't debate a critic's trade. You know he really doesn't get it anyway. Gonna fake the flaws and keep it false. For you no way, for you no way. So if you don't care, just be outraged. At least you know you can always get laid without pain. The world hates whitey babies. Hey, hey, hate on that new thing. Now he's reviewing Prey, yeah, he's getting a video done. He said he was going to suck, but he did a good job. Friends say he's trying too hard, and he's not quite hip, but in his own mind, he's the dopest trip. Aha, aha. Aha, aha. Aha, aha. So don't debate a critic's trade. You know he really doesn't get it anyway. Gonna fake the flaws and keep it false. For you no way, for you no way. So if you don't care, just be outraged. At least you'll know you can always get laid without paying. The world hates whiny babies. The world hates whiny babies. Let's call out some more whitey babies. Hey, hey, hate on that new thing.